Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the C.I.C. Lounge. I'm Peter.
I am Jen.
And we're going to be talking about Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 5.
Charades.
Sounds like ear.
Ear?
This was a great episode. It was so much fun. I mean, nothing major happens.
I think when
Not
your
really?
episode title is Charades,
Yeah. Something weird's going to happen.
you're in for something that's probably funny. And I think they did a really good job
Oh my God.
delivering on the humor.
Again, acting superb. No, it was so fun and crazy and kooky. It was like everything was off the walls bonkers, and they just hit the nail on the head. It was great.
So I was a little confused when this episode started because they're talking about they're on their way to Vulcan. They're traveling at sub-impulse speed, not sub-light, sub-impulse. So I'm like, what, maneuvering thrusters? How are you traveling through space? They're supposed to chart like a moon.
Of Vulcan.
Well, it didn't say a Vulcan. It said a moon in the sector.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
So it's not a Vulcan moon, but like in the episode, like they go to Vulcan because they beam up to Pring and her family and her parents and Spock's mom. Okay, so they're presumably in orbit around Vulcan, and wherever Nurse Chapel has to go to get the information to fix Spock in the end is within a shuttle distance, and within the shuttle distance of the time it takes to have this ritual meal.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the Vulcans wouldn't have just thoroughly...
That was exactly my question. Like, one of the first things I wrote is like, is this not a moon of Vulcan? So why is not the Vulcan Council up there? Why aren't the Vulcan scientists up there checking it out?
You would think that the Vulcans would be pretty intimately familiar with anything a shuttle could reach within an hour
of
their
planet.
whole planet. So that was like, from a technical story point standpoint, that was the only real like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But everything else I really enjoyed. I thought was great.
Yeah, I mean, I get that they needed something to create tension. So obviously, we mess with Spock's DNA. Meanwhile, Spock is having his, I forget what he calls it, but basically the engagement dinner.
Yes.
And of course, his fiance's parents or mom despises him.
That is like the quintessential like mother-in-law. As only a Vulcan mother could be.
Oh God, she was horrible.
Even by Vulcan standards. And that's saying something. And the counterpoint to that, the father, Pring's father.
Was hilarious.
It's like, this is great. Actually, it's not. This tastes amazing, except it doesn't. Like,
Yeah.
Just trying backpedaling everything. His entire
The
life.
twist is too elaborate. Oh, yes, you're right. I see that now. And is there salt on there? Oh, I didn't notice that. Yes, it is rather salty.
And you like it.
I enjoyed, because whenever we see Vulcans on screen, they're always very prim and proper, and they're always very stoic, which that's kind of their species. So it was really kind of refreshing to see T'Pring be visibly frustrated with her mother, the tension between her and her mother, and then the kind of comic relief of the father. I thought that was just such a great dynamic that even though these people, the species, is very, we've controlled and mastered our emotions, they still have their emotions, and they still kind of leak out a little bit.
They do, and they really show in a kind of personality. And I think that's really great for the writers to do, because if you don't do that, all these alien species are very one-dimensional.
Yes. And
even among humans, like there's so many vast differences between humans as individuals, and you would expect the same, So T'Pring has actually been a real interesting character to watch, because she seems to emote a lot more than I would expect a Vulcan to emote. But she then just instantly turns logical throughout seasons 1 and now season 2. So I am glad that they're not making just a blank,
emotionless,
stereotypical Vulcan. Like
Yeah.
they're adding a lot of nuance and flavor to those characters, and it makes it more entertaining to watch.
She's a character that I kind of like and I kind of don't like. Like the actor, I'm 100% behind her, but then like the character in and of itself, I'm just like I kind of feel like I know people or have known people that talked like that and actually had like very little emotion, so that was like the bulk of their emotion was
Yeah,
to bring.
they come off as like a mean girl.
Yeah,
Like she does have that mean girl
Yeah.
vibe to her.
like whatever.
And I've had a lot of experience being a nerd and geek when it wasn't cool to be a geek.
Not like now.
Like now, yeah. Like back in my day, I experienced the mean girls who
My
did
hip just hurt right there.
so. And I think that's actually kind of a good thing because we know how Spock and T'Pring's story ends because it ends in the original series. So I think that's fine. I think you can have fun with a character like that because there's not much of a future there.
Right. One thing that I have never understood, because we've seen this throughout all the series, is that the Vulcans are supposed to be superior in their knowledge and dominating their emotions and their feelings, right? So one would think that they have gone above and beyond racism.
You would think.
You would think.
You would think.
I have never seen in all of Star Trek a more racist species than the Vulcans. And the reason why I say that is because, yeah, you have like the Dominion. They're extremely xenophobic. The Klingons are extremely xenophobic too, but they come out in the open and they're like, "You're not my species. You're weak and pathetic. I hate you." Mm-hmm. They're out in the open about that.
Yes.
Where Vulcans are.
They're just sort of looking down their noses at every other species.
They think that they're so much more superior and that you're beneath them, so they don't need to say it, but all of their emotions that you see come across as
very condescending, very judgmental. Yeah.
Just like, okay, cool.
Right?
Kind of mirrors a society that I know. What was that society? I just can't put my finger on the society that I'm thinking of that thinks that they're morally superior.
Oh, right. Well, if you can think of it, maybe not create a shitstorm in the comments and just keep it to yourself.
Oh my God. Well, moving along with the episode, when we get back to the ship after Spock and Nurse Chapel have their little accident, I think that was one of my favorite parts, was when he sits up and looks at himself in the mirror. And he's just like, what the
cut to the intro, and the music swell at that point is a nod to the original series music themes, which I thought was fantastic. This is not the first time in Star Trek we've seen an episode like this. The name escapes me, but there was an episode of Voyager where B'Elanna was split into a human version and a Klingon version of herself. So we've seen this theme explored before. I really liked seeing Spock's human side.
Oh my God.
That like I realized they couldn't have done this, but like, leave him that way for a few episodes, just for fun, and then eventually bring him back. I thought that could have just because he was such a breath of fresh air. Because he wasn't just that he was human; he was kind of like teenager Spock. Like he wasn't a fully grown, fully developed, emotionally stable human male. He was very moody and out of control, impulsive,
very impulsive.
Very impulsive.
Which kind of makes sense if you think about it, because yes, Vulcans, their emotions are so much stronger than humans, so they have to suppress them. And when you suppress your emotions all the time, you finally have a chance to let it out. What are you going to do? You're just going to go overboard. It's like you're not allowed to have candy, like telling kids you're not allowed to have candy, and then you go to a birthday party, and what do? You overload on all the cake and cookies and sugar that you can grab your little fingers on.
Yeah, and I was thinking a lot about that. Like, Spock has spent his entire life learning to suppress Vulcan emotions, which are stronger than human emotions. But the ability to suppress is a part of what I'm guessing is the Vulcan mind. So when that is removed, all of his like mental pathways, mental disciplines, and emotional suppression and impulse control like instantly go away. So even though his human emotions aren't nearly as strong as his Vulcan emotions, he has zero ability to cope with them. They're just come at him. And I think he, like Ethan Peck really did a good job, conveying that in his performance.
I mean, come on, when he's in Captain Pike's quarters and they're cooking and he stops and he's like, "What's that amazing smell of the bacon? Is that what that is?
Bacon!"
And he just starts mowing down on bacon. I thought that was hilarious. Then, of course, what happens when you eat too much of a good thing? Mm-hmm. Why do I feel nauseated?
I loved Pike in this episode.
Oh my God. Every scene he's in, he just steals it. Like near the end when where we get the name of the episode, Charades, when he suggests charades as an ancient Earth human tradition, the camera pans to him and he goes, like, this sounds stupid even to me.
You're right, every scene he's in, and he's not in a lot.
No, he really isn't.
The trend of the season is that he's not in a lot of these episodes. But like every moment, like the cooking scene, like his interaction with the Vulcan parents.
Oh yeah.
Especially with the dad, just spot on and very entertaining. Like there's some comedy there. Like apparently what we learned from this episode is that Pike is not real good at improv.
No.
Like, at least on a social scale, like, he can probably improvise on the bridge in a command situation, but, like, in the transporter room when Spock is trying to get help from him, like, why they can't have this dinner, and he's just like,
because of things?
So several times in this episode, Pike was improvising, and the best he could come up with was charades.
He just looks so defeated. Like, why did I say this? Which is funny. Again, it's like the Vulcans, like T'Pring's mother and father didn't see the look on his face. But again, they're human, so who knows?
Right.
But that was absolutely golden right there. I did find it endearing that Spock goes to La'an to talk to her about emotions and feelings.
So I was looking at that scene because I just watched the episode again, and I'm not entirely sure Spock goes to La'an so much as the science division calls La'an, because the scene right before is when he's yelling at Kirk to clean up his mess. He's getting aggressive, and two science officers are holding him back. And I'm thinking they probably called security. And so La'an shows him up, pulls him aside, sits him down, and talks to him. And then that scene is brilliant.
Okay, well, that makes that scene even better.
Yes, exactly. Like, he got called to the principal's office because he was misbehaving.
Well, okay, so do you think when he was referring to his stirrings, do you think he was thinking of her, or do you think he was thinking of Nurse Chapel?
Teenage boy, and there's a hot woman right in front of you. Who are you thinking about?
Okay, I mean, that's where my mind went.
My mind went there. Like he's feeling all sorts of things. So it's not to say that he's not thinking about Nurse Chapel, but La'an's hot. She's right there, and she's just talking about like sexual impulse control and all that as a teenager. And
now I'm embarrassed.
and now I'm embarrassed. But I did appreciate was how much he could voice each emotion he was feeling.
Oh yeah,
as he was feeling them. Like, not every human can be that articulate. Like, when they're in the heat of an emotion, they can't say what they're feeling.
We were talking earlier before we started recording this. I have to agree with you. You had mentioned that during the bar scene, when the whole crew, or not crew, but the group is together, and they start laughing, that was super awkward, which, obviously they wanted that to be. But I'm with you. You wanted him to get drunk.
Right. He just downs this whole drink, presumably has alcohol in it. He's not Vulcan anymore, has no Vulcan genes, so his tolerance for alcohol would be. I was expecting him to just finish the drink and then pass out.
I
like,
was too.
just stone cold.
Just be like, I was really thirsty.
Right? Exactly. So one of my favorite aspects of this episode is the women. So, like, in that scene, he's with,
He's with 4
Una
women.
Chin Riley, he's with Ortegas, Uhura, and La'an, and then again on the bridge when they're trying to tell him how to speak
It's
Vulcan.
all 4 of
It's
them.
all 4 of those women. They're just coaching him. And I'm like, I just want to see an episode with just those 4, like,
Oh, yeah.
in some kind of trouble or doing something where they have to save the day, because they look like they're having fun both on and off camera.
Yeah, those 4 look like they have really good chemistry on and off the camera.
Yeah.
I did think it was very funny when they were trying to teach him how to speak Vulcan. They would just go, "No, you must go deeper. Go deeper." Not flatter, not doing it in their own voice to copy. No, go deeper. And to me, that was like when you're trying to communicate with somebody who doesn't speak English or somebody who's deaf. And
Yes.
it's like, what do you just keep talking louder and like, no, that's
louder and slower, like it's going to make a difference.
I don't understand you. Oh my God. When when Spock finally comes clean to his mom, comes clean, she catches him in an outright lie, which that whole aspect of the episode where it's like the mother and son combo, that was hilarious because, it's like moms always know when their darling little baby boys are doing something naughty that they shouldn't be doing.
Right.
They can tell.
Yeah.
And so Spock gets caught. The next scene, they're in the captain's quarters. And Spock is at a bowl of fruit, just shoving his face full of grapes. Nervous eater. I thought that was absolutely hilarious because who hasn't done that? Like, I'm nervous. I don't know what to do. I need to do something. Nom, 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 nom.
He's like that in the entire episode, and I'm wondering how much of that is directed and how much of that is just Ethan Peck just reading the script and like, oh, I should do this. Like, props. I need a bowl of fruit.
As an actor, I would hope that it's Peck. I hope that he was the one who was just like,
because he did it so
bacon.
well.
Oh my God, bacon. Oh, it's so good.
I loved that. Like, who doesn't love bacon?
Oh, why do I feel nauseated?
So he did. There's an interesting point where Spock says, like, "Do I smell more human?"
Oh yeah.
I thought that was interesting because that point, I don't know if it was made in the original series, but it was a point that T'Pol brings up in Star Trek Enterprise, that she has to take nasal suppressants because humans smell and Vulcan women have a much stronger sense of smell than Vulcan men. But as Spock being half human, he would probably smell more than the average Vulcan.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of wondering what T'Pring is thinking about all that.
That's true. I
Like,
didn't think about
you
that.
didn't think about, like, chemistry, physicality, and you smell. Like, I know for humans, like, if you smell like they're like bad, it's an instant
turn off.
It's an instant turn off.
I mean, some people like the stink of other people, so maybe she's
maybe
like,
she's turned on by that humans thing.
"Oh, Spock, you smell good." I do have to say though, so years and years and years ago, when I was working at a hotel as a shuttle driver, we had this guy who was staying at the hotel for training, and he was at the hotel for like 3 or 4 weeks, and he and I became close friends. He was from India, and he was a lot of fun. We would joke and tease each other all the time. And there was one trip I was taking him to the airport, and he goes, "Can I ask you a question?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Go ahead, ask." And he's like, "Why do you Americans smell like cheese? Like you smell like dairy, like rotten milk?" And I'm like, "Well, wow, first of all, that's a crazy question. I never thought about it, but I think it's because we eat a lot of dairy in America. I mean, I know I eat a lot of cheese, and
I don't know.
I don't know, but then I thought about it, and I responded to him with that. I was like, that's a great question. I'm not sure, but I think it's yada yada yada. And I sat there and I'm driving the shuttle, and I stop and I'm like, that's kind of funny because you smell like curry to me. Do you eat a lot of curry? And he goes, yeah, it's a major part of my diet. And I'm like, well, that may be, because like when you go, well, you don't because you don't drink, but when you go out drinking heavy the next day, you're sweating out all that alcohol. And so you smell like the booze you were drinking the night before. So maybe.
Well, I've never really noticed Americans in particular smelling like one thing or another.
Well, it's because you are an American. You live in the States, so you're surrounded by
like
it.
Nose blind to it or whatever. But I am very much aware when people with different ethnic backgrounds, with different body hygiene standards and body chemistry, like some don't smell at all and some are just so funky. You're like, how can you be in a car by yourself and not smell that? Like... But, you
become nose blind too, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, for the record, I did ask the guy, I was like, do I smell like cheese? He goes, oh, yeah, you stink. And I was like, okay, cool. He was honest. I love the guy.
I have never known you to smell bad, even as much as you tend to profusely sweat on set and whatnot. I've never actually picked up, but then I don't get too close. So... I don't get too close to anyone in general.
Fair. I mean, okay, for the record, everybody, I'm 6'7", 260 pounds. I get hot, and I'm underneath the lights.
Fair enough.
And it's a small room, no AC, because we can't run AC because we got the mics going.
Right. Anyway.
Cut me a break.
Getting back to Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
That's what we were talking about.
That's what we're here for. So... one of the things that I want to talk about is the scene where Nurse Chapel and Uhura and Ortegas are in the dimension, whatever that alternate dimension or whatever it is.
The dimensional bridge.
The dimensional bridge. These are all very strong women, and these are also women who still have hang-ups.
Yes.
As evidenced by the fact that, like, Chapel has to kind of say what she feels for Spock to kind of get the help that she needs to fix him.
But
she's
so nervous to say it.
But it's, is she like, well, her friends know. Like, Ortegas and Uhura see it, so they already know. So it's like, when everybody, this is a human thing we do. Everybody in the room knows. So why don't you just say it?
It's just so difficult.
It's like, I know you know, but as long as I don't say it, then there's this... unspoken where it's not actually true because I haven't actually said it and confirmed it, but I know you know.
No, you know nothing.
So I absolutely loved that scene because she's like, well, turn around. Because I can say it if I don't have to look at you.
2 seconds after, both of them just go, we know, just say it.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it because, like, I would think at this point that both men and women would be a little more confident, in interpersonal relationships and honesty and truth.
In the 23rd century?
In the 23rd century.
You would think.
Not so much.
We're still human.
And I think that makes it more interesting to watch when, you have Nurse Chapel who can, juice up and go take out a bunch of Klingons, but when she has to talk to this orb entity about her feelings, it's just like, nope, I'm not brave. I can't say it. I think that's so human, and I think it's brilliant, and I think it's great that that we get to see that kind of behavior in Star Trek because normally Star Trek doesn't go that deep into feelings, where you have to have a do or don't they. They'll play on chemistry or sexual tension, but they don't say anything. And a lot of times they don't even do anything. It's just like implied with a nod or a look and a camera angle. But we
got that this episode.
But yeah, like you would because we never see Spock and Chapel actually hook up in the original series, we don't expect them to see anything in Strange New Worlds. But Strange New Worlds is like, we're our own show. We're going to play by our own rules. And so I loved the last tag of the episode where Chapel shows up and Spock's like, what does this mean? And she's like, I don't know. Shut up.
I don't know. Shut up.
Because even then, she's just kissed him and she's still not ready to confirm what it actually is she's feeling. I think it's brilliant. I love it. And I think it's really honest and human. Like, because even when you're starting down the road of a new relationship and you don't really want to say anything until you're kind of a little more secure in your feelings and your actions. Of course, the Vulcan is like very logical, very cold approach to
I
it.
have no
So
feelings.
it's like I have feelings and I want to explore them. I want to feel them.
Yes.
And she's like, I want to feel them too. I just don't want to talk about them.
So you have one person who suppresses his emotions and the other person doesn't want to acknowledge their
them.
emotions.
Right. It's a good fit.
Oh, perfect.
It kind of works. Kind of works.
Oh, well, the only thing I wanted to say, last thing I wanted to say about this episode is I love the little nod to Jurassic Park when they're in the shuttle and the ladies are all in the shuttle and they're about to go into the bridge. And she says, hold on to your butts. Ortega says, hold on to your butts. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I nerded out on that scene. So I don't know if that was in the script or Ortega's the actor chose to put that in there, but it was perfect. I liked it. So I mean, that's it. I thought it was a very good episode. The acting was great. Script writing was great. So far, we're hitting 1,000 in my book for this season.
Well, the only thing that makes me sad is that we're already halfway through the season.
Don't remind me.
5 episodes down, 5 more to go, which means there's at least 5 more podcasts to record.
Yeah.
Which will hopefully be on time moving forward.
Apologies.
It's all Peter's fault.
I was sick.
So.
Of you. But yeah, no, we'll be back again later this week. Do you have anything else?
No, again, fantastic episode. Just fun to watch.
Oh my God.
Just so much fun.
I'm not a big fan of watching and rewatching episodes over and over again right after, one right after the next. But with this episode and so far every episode this season, I've been very eager to watch it, to enjoy it, and then watch it immediately afterwards to take all my notes and find the little details I missed the first time. So
Yeah, it's
I'm
been
really
great.
enjoying it. Yeah. 2 more episodes until we get the crossover with Lower Decks.
Yep.
I'm excited.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, all right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Oh, one last thing before I forget. I just wanted to say thank you to at Lost Cat 9 Lives 322. I asked last week if everybody wanted to leave a comment, and this person left a comment. That's it.
That's the comment.
So, love it. Thank you. You're awesome.
Someone followed directions.
You did. You win. Well, thank you all for joining us again, and we will see you next week. I'm Peter.
I am Jen.
So long.